sa India nakipagpatintero sa isang elepante.
Bakit naman kaya ito nangyari at may nasaktan kaya sa insidente? Silipin po natin ang pangyayari mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Martes.
Mga apektadong Pilipino sa Los Angeles wildfires umabot na sa halos 200.
Pilipinas muling naghain ng diplomatic protest laban sa China dahil sa Chinese monster ship.
Unang impeachment trial ni South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol umarangkada na.
Magnitude 6.9 na lindol niyanig ang Kyushu region ng Japan.
At ating alamin kung bakit bukas ang China na makisosyo kay Elon Musk para bilhin nito ang TikTok. Inanunsyo ng Department of Agriculture na sumampa na sa 67.68 million pesos ang danyos sa agrikultura dahil sa shear line, amihan at sa Intertropical Convergence Zone o ITCZ.
Batay naman sa DA Operations Center kasama sa naapektuhan ng mga nasabing weather systems ang mga agri-products katulad ng bigas, mais, high-value crops, livestock at poultry sa mga rehiyon ng Mimaropa, Western Visayas, Eastern Visayas, Davao at Soc-Sargen. Paliwanag ng Agriculture Department noong November 27, 2024 pa nakaaapekto ang shear line sa Pilipinas kung saan ay nagdala ito ng moderate to heavy rainfall sa Luzon, Western at Eastern Visayas. Ayon naman sa mga nakalap na datos ng regional field offices ng DA, napinsala ang 3,692 hectares ng agricultural areas na may volume production loss na 472 metric tons kung saan apektado rito ang hindi bababa sa 1,887 na mga magsasaka. Sa kabila nito, inaasahan ng DA na patuloy pang tataas ang maitatalang danyo sa agrikultura dahil sa umiiral ng mga weather system sa bansa.
Halos 200 Pilipino na ang apektado at nawalan ng tirahan dahil po yan sa wildfire sa Los Angeles, California. Ayon kay Philippine Consul General sa Los Angeles na si Adelio Angelito Cruz, ililipat muna ang mga biktima ng sunog sa mga evacuation centers upang matiyak ang kanilang kaligtasan. Inaasahan din na opisyal na tataas pa ang bilang ng mga Pilipinong maaapektuhan ng wildfire sa mga susunod na araw. Patuloy ding inaalam ni Cruz kung kasama sa housing insurance sa mga tirahan ng mga Pilipinong natupok ang mga tahanan sa wildfire.
Nag-deploy ang Philippine Coast Guard o PCG ng 2 barko upang itaboy ang dambuhalang sasakyang pandagat ng China na tinatawag na monster ship. Hanggang kaninang umaga namataan ang napakalaking Chinese Coast Guard ship sa loob ng Exclusive Economic Zone o EEZ ng Pilipinas. Bukod sa BRP Teresa Magbanwa at BRP Gabriela Silang, nagdagdag rin ng Armed Forces of the Philippines o AFP at PCG ng aerial assets para i-monitor ang kilos ng nasabing Chinese monster ship.
The presence of the monster ship in our waters is illegal and inconsistent with the exercise of freedom of navigation and innocent passage. It is clearly a provocative act. It is also a clear attempt to intimidate our fishermen and deprive them of their legitimate livelihood. It is, in short, an intimidation tactic used by the PRC to break the spirits of our fisherfolk and discourage them from fishing in the West Philippine Sea.
Samantala, dahil sa presensya ng Coast Guard, militia at Navy ng Beijing sa karagatang nasasakupan ng Pilipinas, ay naghain ng panibagong diplomatic protest ang Pilipinas laban sa China. Ayon sa National Maritime Council o NMC, tinutulan ng Pilipinas ang iligal na presensya at mga aktibidad ng China sa loob ng Territorial Sea at EEZ ng Pilipinas. Ang mga ginagawa nila ng China ay malinaw na paglabag sa Philippine Maritime Zones Act, sa UNCLOS maging sa 2016 Hague ruling. Mas pinagtibay din ng pamahalaan ng Pilipinas ang pangako nitong ipagpapatuloy at paiigtingin ang lehitimong pagpapatupad ng maritime law enforcement at patrol operations, pangangalaga at pagbibigay ng humanitarian support sa mga Pilipinong mangingisda sa West Philippine Sea. Nananawagan din ang Pilipinas sa China na tanggalin na nito ang kanilang monster ship at iba pang barko sa karagatang sakop ng Pilipinas. Hinikayat din ng Pilipinas ang China na sumunod sa mga obligasyon nito sa ilalim ng UNCLOS.
Iniulat ng Philippine Coast Guard o PCG na bumalik sa bataan ang BRP Teresa Magbuanwa para sa minor repairs dahil nag-overheat ang mga makina nito. Sa kabila naman ito, tinayak ng PCG na patuloy itong determinadong pangalagaan ang maritime jurisdiction ng bansa. Anila, malakas ang posisyon ng PCG kaysa sa iligal na presensya ng monster ship ng China sa loob ng exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas. Nagpadala rin ang PCG ng radio challenges sa China. Huli pong namataan ang nasabing Chinese vessel sa 67 nautical miles mula sa baybayin ng Zambales. Noong nakaraang linggo, kinumpirma ng PCG ang presensya ng monster ship sa layong 54 nautical miles mula sa baybayin ng Capones Island.
The president's position on the impeachment move in the House of Representatives has not changed. Ito ang inilabas na statement ni Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin matapos tanungin kung may epekto ba ang nationwide rally for peace sa paniniwala ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na hindi dapat ma-impeach si Vice President Sara Duterte. Ayon sa Malacanang, nananatiling hindi sang-ayon si Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa anumang pagsisikap na i-impeach ang bise. Gaya ng posisyon ng halos 2 milyong Pilipino na lumahok sa National Rally for Peace, suportado ng Pangulong Marcos Jr. na hindi dapat matuloy ang impeachment dahil magdudulot lamang ito ng gulo, pagkabahabahagi at hindi para sa kapakanan ng mga mamamayan. Matatandaan dating sinabi ni Marcos na ang impeachment ay pag-aaksaya lamang ng panahon ng Kamara at ng Senado.
This is not important. This does not make any difference to even one single Filipino life. So why waste time on this? What will happen to if somebody files an impeachment? It will tie down the House, it will tie down the Senate, it will just take up all the time, and for what? For nothing. For nothing. None of this will help improve a single Filipino life. As far as I'm concerned, it's a storm in a teacup.
Binigyang diin naman ng mga sumali sa National Rally for Peace ang kahalagahan ng pagkakaisa at kapayapaan para sa Pilipinas. Ayaw nila ng gulo, bangayan, pagkakabahabahagi at pamumulitika na sariling interes lamang ng iilan at hindi para sa kapakanan ng mga mamamayan. Hinikayat din ang mga lumahok sa Peace Rally na magkasundo ang mga lider ng Pilipinas.
Handa tayong isatinig ang kanilang damdamin, ang kanilang mithiin para sa isang mapayapa at nagkakaisang Pilipinas. Hindi po ba dapat dapat na itoon ng ating mga pinuno ang kanilang pansin sa mga suliraning kailangang tugunan agad?
Ang nais po natin, ang maliit na tinig na ngayon ay pinagsasama-sama natin sa ating rally, mapakinggan naman ng pamahalaan.
Nagpahayag ng pagkadismaya ang COMELEC dahil sa maraming bilang ng mga gun ban violators sa pagsisimula pa lamang po yan ng election period para sa May 12 midterm elections. Sinabi ni COMELEC Chairperson George Garcia, may naitala silang 80 violators sa pagsisimula ng pagpapatupad ng gun ban noong January 12. Giit ni Garcia, marami pa rin ang hindi sumusunod sa panawagan ng COMELEC sa kabila ng kailang malawakang information drive. Sa kabila ng gun ban, mayroon lamang kabuuang 1,131 individuals na binigyan ng certificates of exemption para sa election gun ban. Para naman makakuha nito ay kailangan ng nagnanais na maghain ng aplikasyon sa COMELEC. Ang mahuhulihan po kasi ng baril sa gitna ng gun ban ay mahaharap sa isang election offense case at paglabag sa firearms law. Sa ngayon, patuloy ang mahigpit na pagbabantay ng mga otoridad sa 1,411 checkpoint area sa Pilipinas bilang paghahanda sa midterm polls.
Ipinag-utos ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa Department of Health na huwag hayaang maantala ang paghahatid serbisyo ng PhilHealth sa kabila ng zero government subsidy nito ngayong 2025. Kalinsabay nito ay muling binigyan diin ng Pangulo ang commitment ng kanyang administrasyon na unahin ang social services sa 2025 national budget kung saan ay nakatuon din sa mga programa para sa edukasyon, pangkalusugan, ekonomiya, infrastruktura at sa agrikultura. Una nang iginiit ng PhilHealth na sapat ang kanilang pondo para kanilang maipagkaloob ang kanilang serbisyo, gayon din ang pagpapalawak ng kanilang health benefit packages para sa mga Pilipino. Kinumpirma naman ni PhilHealth Senior Vice President for Fund Management Renato Limsiaco Jr. na mayroong authorized corporated operating budget ang state insurer na 271 billion pesos para ngayong taon na kayang mapuna ng mga gastusin para sa benepisyo ng kanilang mga miyembro.
Inaasahan naman pong bababa ang presyo ng karinang baboy ngayong buwan ng Enero. Batay sa price monitoring ng Department of Agriculture sa 10 pangunahing wet market sa Maynila, ang 1 kilo ng pork kasim ay nasa pagitan ng 320 at 390 pesos, habang ang pork liempo naman ay naglalaro sa pagitan ng 360 hanggang 450 pesos bawat kilo. Nabatid na tumaas ng 10 piso ang halaga ng karning baboy noong Disyembre dahil pa rin sa holiday season. Susunod, China nagbabalak nga ba ng quadruple drone siege?
Bagong strain ng Mpox na diskubre sa China.
At unang impeachment trial ni Yoon Suk-yeol natapos na, ang presidente absent pa rin. Mga detalye po ng mga balitang yan at iba pa mga balita sa pagbabalik pa rin ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by BioQuick, high-quality products for hospitals and labs with 19 years of dedicated service to the community. They have become your trusted partner for all things medical.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba, sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Nakikipagtulungan ang ilang mga siyentipiko sa People's Liberation Army ng China upang mag-develop ng drones para sa ikapagtatagumpay ng Special Operations Plan nito kontra sa pinagsanib na puwersa ng Estados Unidos at Taiwan. Tinawag ng war experts na quadruple drone siege ang plano ng China dahil gagamit nila ito ng 4 na uri ng drones na may reconnaissance and attack capabilities na manggagaling sa mainland Chinese military bases. Gagamit nila ng drones ang China upang hindi malagay sa panganib ang mga miyembro ng kanilang militar. Ayon naman sa isang pag-aaral na nilathala ng Fire Control and Command Control Journal, kumpiyansa ang China na kaya nitong palibutan ng drones ang buong isla ng Taiwan upang hindi makalapit ang drones o kahit anumang puwersa na galing sa Estados Unidos. Ang hypothetical special operations ay posibleng mangyari sa taong 2035.
Kinumpirma po ng health experts ng China na may natukoy silang bagong mutated strain ng Mpox Clade 1B. Nakuhaan nila ang bagong strain ng virus sa isang dayuhan na may travel and residence history sa Democratic Republic of Congo. Nagpositibo rin sa Mpox ang 4 pang individual na nagkaroon ng close contact sa naturang dayuhan. Ilan po sa mga simptomas na nakita sa mga pasyente ay lagnat, skin rashes at blisters. Wala pang pahayag ang health experts sa China kung nasa recovery stage na ang 5 pasyente ng Mpox.
Natapos na ang unang impeachment trial kay suspended South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol ngayong araw ng Martes, Enero 14. Ito ay sa gitna ng pagtitimbang ng Constitutional Court kung tuluyan ng tatanggalan ng presidential duty si Yoon matapos siyang i-impeach ng Parliament kaugnay sa kanyang panandalian at nabigong martial law declaration. Ang unang pagdinig sa impeachment trial ni Yoon ay ginanap kaninang hapon. Ang susunod na mga pagdinig ay gaganapin sa Enero 16, 21, 23 at sa Pebrero 4. Base sa mga legal experts, pagpapasyahan ng korte ang dalawang issue. Kung naayon ba sa saligang batas ang martial law declaration ni Yoon, ang pangalawang issue naman ay kung illegal nga ba ito. Maaari ba itong maituring na insureksyon?
권한을 묻기 전에 그 영장이 적법하고 유효한지에 대해서 다시 한번 생각해 보시기 바라겠습니다. 단지 헌법재판이라는 이유로 형사소송 규정을 준용하지 않는 것은 법을 정면으로 위배하는 것입니다. 법을 지키고 법을 집행해야 될 헌법재판소가 월권을 하고 있는 겁니다.
Ayon kay Attorney Kim Nam-ju, maaaring hindi na magtagal pa ang impeachment trial ni Yoon dahil karamihan sa mga individual na nasangkot ay na-indict na at na-establish na rin daw ang ilang facts kaugnay sa kaso. Subalit batay sa legal team ni Yoon, hindi haharap ang Pangulo sa unang pagdinig dahil sa banta sa kanyang kaligtasan, subalit handaan niya itong humarap kalaunan kapag naplansya na ang ilang issue sa kanyang seguridad. Ikinatwiran din ng mga abogado ni Yoon na dapat gamitin ng korte ang buong 180 days lalo na sa pagsiyasat kung ano ang nagbunsod sa pagdedeklara niya ng martial law. Sa kabila naman ng inaasahang hindi pagdalo ni Yoon sa unang pagdinig, magpapatuloy pa rin ang impeachment trial laban sa kanya.
헌법의 적, 민주주의 적으로부터 헌법을 보호하고 대한민국을 지켜야 합니다. 지금 대한민국의 가장 시급한 과제는 윤석열의 체포와 파면입니다.
Sa kaugnay pong balita, nagtipon-tipon ang libo-libong South Koreans sa Seoul sa gitna ng paghahanda ng Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials o CIO na arestuhin sa ikalawang pagtatangka si President Yoon Suk-yeol noong araw ng Sabado, January 11. Kaugnay pa rin sa kanyang panandalian at nabigong deklarasyon ng martial law. Matatandaang nabigo ang naunang arrest attempt ng mga investigador ng CIO Cayun matapos harangin ng Presidential Security Service na tumagal ng halos 6 na oras. Ngayong araw, nagtipon ang mga taga-suporta maging ang mga anti-UN sa mga pangunahing kalsada sa sentro ng Seoul. Ito ay sa kabila pa ng below 0 degrees sa temperatura. Dinidemanda ang pag-aresto ng mga protestors Cayun habang ang iba ay para ipanawagan na ideklarang walang bisa naman ang impeachment ni Yun. Ang mga taga-suporta ni Yun ay nagrarally sa labas ng kanyang presidential residence mula madaling araw pa lamang simula nung Sabado bago ang inilunsad na malakihang demonstrasyon kaninang 1:00 ng hapon sa Central Seoul. Noong nakaraang Biyernes ay nagbitiw na sa pwesto ang Presidential Security Chief ni Yoon na nahaharap naman sa questioning kaugnay sa pagharang ng kanyang Presidential Security Service Guards sa mga investigador para arestuhin sana si Yoon. Inihayag naman ng CIO na masusi nilang pinaghahandaan ang ikalawang pagtatangka para arestuhin na si Yoon at nagbabalang ikukulong ang sinumang hahadlang sa kanila. Base sa report mula sa Yonhap News Agency, humiling ang National Office of Investigation sa high-ranking police officials sa Seoul na maghanda ng karagdagang 1,000 investigators na ide-deploy para sa panibagong arrest attempt. Habang sa panig naman ng PSS guards ni Yoon, pinigting pa ang seguridad sa compound sa pamamagitan ng paglalagay ng barbed wire at bus barricades. Magugunitang nag-ugat ang tangkang pag-aresto kay Yoon sa hindi niya pagharap sa mga pag-uusig kaugnay sa kinakaharap nitong criminal charges sa insurrection probe. Maliban dito, nahaharap din siya sa nagpapatuloy na impeachment proceedings. Nakatakda namang simula ng impeachment trial ni President Yoon sa Martes, January 14 na magpapatuloy kahit hindi ito dumalo. Kung sakali na mga tuluyang maisilbi ang arrest warrant laban kay Yoon, siya ang magiging kauna-unahang nakaupong Pangulo ng South Korea na maaaresto.
Sa kabilang Korea, nagpakawala ng mga missile ang North Korea upang ipamalas ang kanilang lakas militar iilang araw lamang bago ang inaugurasyon ni President-elect Donald Trump.
자강동 경계 일대에서 동해상으로 발사한 단거리 탄도미사일로 추정되는 발사체 수발을 우리 군이 포착하였습니다. 우리 군은 추가 발사에 대비하여 감시 및 경계 태세를 강화한 가운데 미 일측과 관련 정보를 긴밀하게 공유하면서 만반의 대피 태세를 유지하고 있습니다.
Ayon sa Seoul Joint Chiefs of Staff, ang mga naturang short-range ballistic missile ay lumipad ng halos 250 kilometro noong umaga galing sa probinsya ng Ganggae at Jagang malapit sa North Korean-Chinese border. Nagbabala naman ang JCS ng South Korea laban sa pagpostura ng North Korea. Binalaan din nila na lubhang magiging malaking miscalculation ito ng Pyongyang kapag nagpasya ang kanilang mga kaalyado na tumugon sa kanilang mga agresyon. Inabisuhan naman ni Japan Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi ang Pyongyang na maghunos dili bago magsagawa ng mga aksyon na posibleng makaapekto sa kapayapaan ng rehiyon sa mga susunod na araw.
いずれにせよ我が国の領域や排他的経済水域へのミサイルの飛来は確認されておらず、また関係機関からの被害報告等の情報は確認されておりません。
Nagpulong na ang National Security Council ng Seoul at Indo-Pacific Command ng Estados Unidos ng upang pag-usapan ang kanilang pagtugon sa hamon na isinulong ng North Korea. Kinundena ni Acting President Choi Sang-mok ang naturang pagpapalipad ng North Korea kung saan sinabi niyang isa itong lantarang paglabag sa United Nations Security Council resolutions na ipasa ng international community.
오늘 오전 북한은 1월 6일에 이어 8일 만에 또다시 미사일 도발을 강행했습니다. 이는 명백한 유엔 안보리 결의 위반입니다. 우리 정부는 굳건한 안보 태세와 한미 동맹을 바탕으로 북한의 도발에 더욱 단호히 대응해 나갈 것입니다. 이 재원을 포함해 지방
Samantala, nasa 30,000 na mga demonstrador ang nagrarally sa Brussels, Belgium dahil sa pangangamba sa pagpapatupad ng pension reforms doon. Asi Sakmar po para sa balita.
Ang pag-aalmang ito ng libo-libong Belgian sa kabisera ng bansa ay bahagi ng pambuong bayan na demonstrasyon laban sa pinag-aalinlangan ng reforma sa pensyon. May 30,000 katao ang nagmarcha sa mga kalye ng Brussels na naging dahilan ng pagkulumpo ng air at rail traffic noong Lunes. Nagsara rin ang mga paaralan dito dahil kasama sa mga nagrally ang mga guro at empleyado ng mga eskwelahan. Kinansila ang halos kalahati ng flight sa paliparan ng Brussels dahil kasama sa strike ang luggage handlers, security at iba pang ground staff. Samantala, ayon naman sa mga nagpapatakbo ng tren, iilan lamang ang bumiyahing tren sa buong bansa. Kasama sa mga naantala ay ang pampublikong transportasyon sa kabisera. Nilalabanan ng mga ito ang mga reforma na inihahain ng mga 5 partido na bumubuo ng bagong gobyerno matapos ang eleksyon noong Hunyo 2024. Hanggang ngayon, hindi magkasundo ang mga ito ukol sa usapang pananalapi at ang kontrobersyal na pension reforms. Ayon sa isa sa mga lider ng Unyon, ang protestang ito ay panggising sa mga nakikipagnegosasyon ukol sa pensyon ng mga manggagawa.
Aujourd'hui, en tout cas, un signal d'alarme qui est lancé vers les négociateurs de ce gouvernement, puisque selon les informations que nous entendons, des mesures très concrètes pourraient être prises en matière de pension, qui aura un impact pour l'ensemble des travailleurs de ce pays, particulièrement pour les cheminots que je représente, puisque ce serait la suppression des régimes préférentiels, comme on les appelle, qui aura comme conséquence d'allonger les carrières et qui aura un impact financier sur le montant total des pensions.
Ashley Sakmar para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Ayon sa White House na napipintong magpalit na ng administrasyon sa susunod na linggo, isinasaayos pa rin ang usapin ukol sa tigil putukan at magpapalaya ng mga bihag sa Gaza. Si Myla Simbulan para sa mga detalye.
Ayon sa isang top aide ni Pangulong Joe Biden, nasa bingit na ng kasunduan ang usapin ukol sa ceasefire at hostage deal sa Gaza. Ayon kay National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, nakikipag-ugnayan ang White House sa papalit na team ni President-elect Donald Trump ukol sa usapin. Ani Sullivan, makikipag-usap si Pangulong Joe Biden kay Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi ukol sa negosasyon.
And in fact, we've seen in the context of the Middle East that we have coordinated on common messaging around the ceasefire in Lebanon. And we are coordinated, very closely coordinated, including with Steve Witkoff and Brett McGurk, around trying to bring this hostage deal to a close. And it's because there is a spirit being brought to this work which says these are not partisan issues. These are American national security issues. And it's the kind of spirit that President Biden has brought to this job from the very beginning, that set the politics aside, do what's right for the country, and have our team work with the incoming team in that regard. And I have to say, our coordination thus far, the engagement we've had, it's been professional, it's been deep and substantive.
Dagdag ni Sullivan, inaabangan pa rin ng lahat kung may maaabot nga bang kasunduan.
And we are now at a pivotal point in the negotiations for a hostage deal and ceasefire in Gaza. The president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday and just got off the phone with the Emir of Qatar. He'll be speaking soon also with President Sisi of Egypt. We are close to a deal, and it can get done this week. I'm not making a promise or a prediction, but it is there for the taking, and we are going to work to make it happen.
Binigyan diin ni Sullivan na bahagi ng layunin ng negosasyon ay ang maiuwi na ang mga Amerikanong bihag ng Hamas.
So obviously we have been focused on ensuring that all of the Americans ultimately come home. That is part of the objective that President Biden set forth. It is part of the phases of this hostage deal that all of the Americans come home. Now, what they are working through and hammering out are the details of the precise sequencing of people coming out over the course of the weeks and months of this deal. That's getting hammered out as one of the final details, but a paramount priority for President Biden, as for the incoming team, is ensuring that we ultimately get all of the Americans reunited with the families, and the remains of those Americans who have tragically passed away are also brought home so that they can get the proper burial that they deserve.
Sinabi rin ni Sullivan na nagsasara na ang mga puwang na nagpapatagal ng kasunduan na nagpaplansya na isa-isa ang mga isyu ng bawat partido. Sinabi rin ni Sullivan na nagsasara na ang mga puwang na nagpapatagal ng kasunduan na napaplansya na isa-isa ang mga isyu ng bawat partido. Ang deal anya ay maaabot sa diplomatikong paraan. Sa kasalukuyan, ang bilang ng mga namatay na dahil sa pagganti ng Israel sa Gaza ay umabot na sa 46,600. Maya Simbulan para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Sa naganap namang United Nations Security Council meeting, inakusahan ni Israeli Ambassador Danny Danon ang Hezbollah ng Lebanon na nagpapalakas muli ng sandatahang lakas sa pagitan ng tulong ng Iran. Base sa inilabas na intelligence report ng Estados Unidos noong nakaraang buwan, nagbabala silang binabalak ng Iran na buuin muli ang Hezbollah at palalawigin pa nito umano ang kanilang sandatahang lakas upang kontrahin ang puwersa ng US sa kanilang rehiyon. Nakasaad sa sulat ni Israeli Ambassador Danny Danon sa mga miyembro ng Security Council na while Hezbollah's military capabilities were significantly reduced during the war, they are now attempting to regain strength and rearm with the assistance of Iran. Kasalukuyang nakasailalim ang Israel at Hezbollah sa isang 60-day ceasefire na matatapos sa January 27 matapos ang halos isang taon ng pakikipagdigmaan. Bahagi ng termino ng kasunduan na magpapadala ang Lebanese Army ng sundalo sa timog na bahagi ng Lebanon para bantayan ang pagtras ng mga tauhan ng Israel at ng Hezbollah. Nagbabatuhan naman ng akusasyon ang pareha sa kampo ukol sa paglabag na naturang kasunduan. Sa ngayon ay wala pang sagot ang tauhan ng Hezbollah at Iran sa United Nations ukol sa naturang issue, habang itinanggi naman ng isang mataas na opisyal ng Lebanon ang kailang pagkakasangkot sa naturang aligasyon ng Israel.
Nanumpa na sa kanyang ikatlong termino si Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
Juro por la memoria eterna de nuestro amado jefe y comandante Hugo Chávez, y juro por el histórico, noble y aguerrido pueblo de Venezuela ante esta Constitución que haré cumplir todos sus mandatos, que haré cumplir todas las obligaciones de la Constitución y las leyes de la República, y que este nuevo periodo presidencial será el periodo de la paz, la prosperidad, la igualdad y la nueva democracia. Lo juro por la historia, lo juro por mi vida, y así cumpliré.
Isinagawa ang panunumpa nito sa isang maliit na kwarto sa National Assembly na kaiba sa mga nagdaang termino nito na ginagawa sa main hall ng gusali. Ang nasabing panunumpa ay sa kabila ng patuloy na isinasagawang kilos protesta ng mga oposisyon na kumukwestiyon sa resulta ng halalan. Pinangunahan ni National Assembly Leader Jorge Rodriguez ang panunumpa ni Maduro. Dumalo sa nasabing panunumpa nito sina Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega at Miguel Diaz-Canel ng Cuba. Sa kanyang talumpati, sinabi ni Maduro na ang kapangyarihan na ibinigay sa kanya ay hindi galing sa ibang bansa. Pagkatapos ng naturang seremonya ay hinarap nito ang militar ng Venezuela kung saan hiniling niya ang hindi natitinag na katapatan ng kanyang mga sundalo sa kanya bilang presidente ng Venezuela.
Reconocemos y reafirmamos lealtad y subordinación absoluta al ciudadano Nicolás Maduro Moros como presidente constitucional de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela, nuestro comandante en jefe para el periodo 2025-2031. Para evitar...
Noong Hulyo 28 ng nakaraang taon ay idineklarang panalo sa halalan si Maduro, subalit hindi sang-ayon ang katunggali nito na si Edmundo Gonzales dahil hindi naglabas ng election authority ng bansa ng opisyal na resulta ng botohan. Nanguna ang Estados Unidos at iba pang mga bansa na naniniwalang dinaya ni Maduro ang resulta ng halalan.
Acepto con gratitud este juramento de reconocimiento y lealtad absoluta. Saben ustedes que he sido su comandante en jefe durante estos años de lucha por el derecho de nuestra patria a ser libre e independiente. Saben que soy presidente constitucional y tengo los poderes dados por el pueblo para enfrentar todas las circunstancias presentes y futuras. No estoy aquí como un pelele, un cobarde, entregado a los intereses imperiales. No soy de la oligarquía, ni acato órdenes del imperialismo. Soy Nicolás Maduro Moros, hombre del pueblo, hombre de los barrios, presidente constitucional, ratificado, juramentado y comandante en jefe de la Fuerza Armada Nacional Bolivariana.
Sumapit ang ika-100 araw ng panunungkulang ni Claudia Sheinbaum bilang Pangulo ng Mexico. Alamin po natin kung ano-ano ang ipinagmalaki ni President Sheinbaum na natupad niya sa unang 3 buwan na pamumuno sa Mexico. Mayroon din kaya siyang ipinangako sa kanyang mga kababayan. NJ de Guzman po para sa detalye.
Inilathala ni Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum ang kanyang 100-day government report sa main square ng Mexico City noong linggo. Binigyan diin ng Pangulo ang mga nakamit niya sa security and economic cooperation. Inanunsyo ni Sheinbaum ang mga natatanging pagbaba ng antas ng krimen kabilang ang homicides at firearm injuries.
Les informo que entre septiembre y diciembre de 2024 los homicidios dolosos disminuyeron en 16%, las lesiones dolosas por arma de fuego en 20% y todos los robos con violencia en 5%. Algunos quisieran que fracasáramos, se van a quedar con las ganas. La estrategia de seguridad va a funcionar porque hay humanismo, dedicación y honestidad.
Pinuri ni Sheinbaum ang mga manggagawang Meksikano sa Estados Unidos bilang katangi-tanging mga taga-ambag sa iba't ibang sektor. Inulit nito ang kanyang pangako na susuportahan ang mga kababayang nasa US.
Nuestros hermanos y hermanas migrantes no olvidan a sus familias y a su patria, y por ello tampoco nunca los olvidamos, todo lo contrario, los reconocemos y los defendemos.
Binigyang diin ni Sheinbaum ang benepisyo ng kasunduan sa kalakalan sa pagitan ng Mexico, US at Canada. Binanggit nito ang papel ng trade agreement sa paglikha ng trabaho at economic integration.
Destaco también la buena relación de respeto y colaboración del primer periodo del presidente Donald Trump con el presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador. En particular, la firma del Tratado Comercial entre México, Estados Unidos y Canadá, que tanto ha beneficiado a nuestros pueblos.
Batay sa Encol El Pais poll noong 9 ng Enero, 100 araw matapos ang kanyang inaugurasyon, nananatili ang 80% approval rate ni Sheinbaum.
México! ¡Viva el pueblo de México!
NJ de Guzman para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Sa Canada, samut-sari ang reaksyon ng mga mamamayan sa pagbibitiw pwesto ni Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Alamin natin ang opinyon ng ilang mga nasa most populated city ng Canada, ang Toronto. Narito si Net 25 correspondent Cherry Recolizado.
Nitong linggo, inanunsyo ni Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau ang isang mahalagang balita na siya ay bababa bilang Prime Minister at leader ng Liberal Party sa oras na maihalal ang kanyang kapalit. Napailalim sa mabigat na kritisismo si Trudeau at matinding pressure na magbitiw sa kanyang posisyon, lalo na't matapos bumaba sa pwesto ni Chrystia Freeland, dating Minister of Finance and Deputy noong nakaraang buwan, na siyang nagdulot ng maraming pagdududa sa pamumuno ni Trudeau. Bagamat inanunsyo ni Trudeau ang kanyang pag-resign nitong linggo, siya ay mananatiling Prime Minister hanggang sa maisagawa ang halalan sa kalaunan ng taong ito. Ngunit dahil sa pahayag niyang ito, suspendido na ngayon ang parlamento at hindi muna makakapasa ng mga batas ang federal government. Hindi rin lubusang makakatugon ang Canada sa mga banta ng taripa mula kay President-elect Donald Trump, maliban na lamang sa pagpapatupad ng kontra-taripa para sa susunod na eleksyon dahil maraming pagtatalo ang nagaganap sa kinabibilangan niyang partidong pampolitika. Narito ang ilan sa mga tugon ng mga Canadian patungkol sa pag-resign ni Prime Minister Trudeau.
The country overall is very, very angry, whether it's because of Trudeau's administration, like mishandling of the country, and also the rising of the current Conservative Party and how it will affect us, especially with now like Trump's upcoming administration. I think a lot of Canadians right now are pretty scared and pretty confused.
So actually I'm really happy, and I got really happy when I heard that news because he basically destroyed this country. And I mean, I hated his immigration policy because you know what, he brought too much people here, and now I mean actually we came here as PR, but still my dad, he was struggling to find jobs and other stuff. So yeah, I'm really happy and I'm looking forward to a change.
Whoever steps up has to step up to handle the country. It's gonna have to be someone smart, someone that's decided by people that are cold-headed, that are thinking by rationality instead of just by pure feelings, and thinking on the long term, not on just the short term of the country.
Halos mag-iisang dekada nang naglilingkod si Trudeau bilang Prime Minister matapos siyang manumpa sa posisyon noong 2015. Cherry Recolisado, Toronto, Ontario, para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, Kyushu, Japan, niyanig ng malakas na lindol.
TikTok sa Estados Unidos nanganganib na.
At Moana 2 nahaharap sa copyright infringement. Yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Excited ka na bang malaman kung ikaw ang nanalo ng mga exciting prizes na ito sa ating Net25 Selfie with the Agila promo? Abangan ang nalalapit na announcement ng winners sa Love, Tony Pet, and Everything. Kada umaga, ESPN, sa Ganang Mamamayan at Mata ng Agila Primetime. Kaya naman tumutok lang dito sa Net25.
Sa kasulukuyang henerasyon, marami na ang nag-viral. Dahil po yan sa kanilang ginagawang pagtulong sa kapwa. Pero mas marami ang tumutulong kahit walang nakakakita. Kaya naman kung ikaw ay may kilala na grupo o individual na may natatanging pagresponde sa lipunan, At maging sa kalikasan, mag-text lamang sa 0915-415-1035 o mag-email sa responde@net25.com at magpadala ng mensahe sa ating Facebook page at Net25TV. Baka kayo na ang susunod nating Certified Key Responder.
Let's net together sa Net25. Sa Net25.
Isang tsunami advisory ang itinaas sa timog-kanlurang bahagi ng Japan matapos pong tumama ang malakas na magnitude 6.9 na lindol ayon po yan sa Japan Meteorological Agency. Subalit kinalaunan ay inalis din ito habang pinilitan naman ng ahensya ang lakas na lindol na tumama sa magnitude 6.6. Ayon sa state broadcaster ng Japan, may nasaktang isang lalaki matapos mahulog sa isang palapag ng hagdan dahil sa lindol. May ilan namang mga daan ang pansamantalang isinara dahil sa naganap na maliliit na landslides. Sinabi rin ng agency official na si Shigeki Aoki na inaasahan sa lugar ang mga aftershocks makalipas ang 2 at 3 araw.
Nagbabala mga opisyales ng Los Angeles na iihip na naman ang malalakas na hangin doon na lalong magpapaliyab sa LA wildfires. Narito ang report ni Allen Basayahe.
On Monday, almost a week since Los Angeles fires started burning, public safety leaders warn of dangerously high winds threatening to resume in the area. This potentially hampering efforts to extinguish 2 stubborn wildfires that have turned whole neighborhoods into ashes and claimed the lives of at least 24 people. Officials say, however, that they are ready. Mayor Karen Bass assures residents of the beleaguered city. Firefighters, she says, even those from other states, are strategically positioned to save lives.
As we've mentioned, the National Weather Service is predicting close to hurricane force level winds, and so we're making urgent preparations. My top priority and the priority of everyone else is to do everything we can to protect lives. As these winds approach, LA City firefighters and firefighters from across the county, state, and nation, and even overseas, are in a proactive and strategic posture to save lives.
Los Angeles County Fire Department Chief Anthony Maroney says the fire threat across the county remains critical.
Severe fire weather conditions will continue through Wednesday. The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
Los Angeles City Fire Chief says immediate response is expected should any new fires start burning in the area.
I have strategically pre-positioned engine strike teams and task forces which are dedicated to rapid response for any new fire that breaks out in the city.
The National Weather Service says dry Santa Ana winds of up to 50 to 70 miles per hour or 80 to 112 kilometers per hour were forecast to persist through Wednesday. The agency has issued a particularly dangerous situation red flag warning. At least 24 people have died in the fires that began last Tuesday. The blazes have reduced whole neighborhoods to smoldering ruins. Officials say at least 12,300 structures have been damaged or destroyed.
In regards to deaths, and again, I want to clarify, this is for the Los Angeles County area of responsibility. We have confirmed 21 deaths, 16 in the Eaton fire area, and 5 in the Palisades area. And sadly, yes, unfortunately, I anticipate the number to go up. Missing persons, we are actively have 23 active missing persons reported, 17 in the Eaton fire area, 6 in the Malibu area.
Unfortunately, but not at all surprising, incidents of looting, burglary, and grand theft have been reported, and arrests have been made.
We've seen this come up, and you've heard law enforcement describe the arrests that have been made, whether those arrests are for looting, burglary, grand theft, whether those arrests are for arson, whether those arrests will eventually be for price gouging, because we have been seeing price gouging with hotels, people offering residents as well above the 10% addition that they can charge. We've seen that with medical supplies, other types of supplies, price gouging going on.
Meanwhile, the return of high winds threatens the progress that crews have made in containing the fires. Over the weekend, aerial and land-based firefighters managed to at least halt the spread of the Palisades fire. Alan Basiyahe for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Babala naman po sa mga mahilig mang inis dyan dahil isang lalaki umano sa India ang hinabol ng isang elepante matapos umanong inisin ito. Ayon sa Indian Forest Service, na-stress ang elepante dahil sa umano'y harassment ng lalaki sa naturang hayop. Mapapansin din sa video na halos nakikipagpatintero na ang lalaki sa hayop pero kinalaunan ay tinigilan na niya ito at umalis na lamang. Subalit huli na ang lahat dahil nainis na nga ang elepante kaya hinabol na ang lalaking nagpapastress sa kanya. Paliwanag ng mga wildlife experts, nagiging agresibo ang mga elepante kapag pakiramdam nila ay nasa panganib sila.
Sa isang podcast ay sinabi ni Meta boss Mark Zuckerberg na matagal nang walang naiimbentong maganda ang Apple. Pinuna rin niya ang lack of innovation ng Apple maging ang random rules ng tech giant, lalo ng 30% tax na ipinapataw nito sa mga developers.
They haven't really invented anything great in a while. It's like Steve Jobs invented the iPhone, and now they're just kind of sitting on it 20 years later, and they actually, I think year over year, I'm not even sure they're selling more iPhones at this point. I think like the sales might actually be declining. I think part of it is that each generation, it doesn't actually get that much better. So people are just taking longer to upgrade than they would before. So the number of sales, I think, has generally been flat to declining. So how are they making more money as a company? Well, they do it by basically like squeezing people. And like you're saying, like having this 30% tax on developers, by getting you to buy more peripherals and things that plug into it. They build stuff like AirPods, which are cool, but they've just thoroughly hamstrung the ability for anyone else to build something that can connect to the iPhone in the same way.
Iniulit naman ng Bloomberg na bukas makipagsosyo ang ilang Chinese officials sa US para ibenta ang TikTok kay billionaire Elon Musk sa kabila ng nalalapit na pagsasara ng platform sa Estados Unidos ngayong buwan. Ayon naman sa ilang mga sources, kapag ito man ay naganap, ay nais ang Beijing na manatili ang TikTok sa kontrol ng parent company nito na ByteDance. Batay kasi sa ipinasang batas ng US Congress, paghihintulutan lamang mag-operate ang TikTok kung ito ay mag-divest sa ByteDance. Sa kabila nito, hindi payag ang TikTok na gawin ito dahil sa umano'y may koneksyon ang gobyerno ng China sa ByteDance ayon sa mga saraysay ng mga miyembro ng US Congress. Sa ngayon, wala pang komento si Musk at ang Chinese Cyberspace and Ministry of Commerce hinggil sa issue. Nangako ang International Olympic Committee o IOC na kanilang papalitan ang mga medalya ni American swimmer Gary Hall Jr. na nasunog sa wildfire sa Los Angeles. Ayon kay IOC President Thomas Bach, nabibigyan nila si Hall ng replikas ng 10 Olympic medals na natupok ng apoy. Lumaban ang American swimmer sa Olympics sa mga taon ng 1996, 2000 and 2004 kung kailan nagwagi ito ng kabuuang 5 gintong medalya. 3 silver at 2 bronze sa Atlanta, Sydney, and Athens. Una nang ikinalungkot ng 50 anyos na Hall of Famer swimmer na US ang pagkasunog ng kanyang bahay dahil sa wildfire kung saan hindi rin niya nailigtas ang mga medalya na kanyang napanalunan.
Si Sinampahan ng copyright infringement ang Disney dahil kinopya umano ng kumpanya ang screenplay ng Moana 2 sa screenplay ng animator na si Buck Woodall. Ayon kay Woodall, nilabag ng dating Mandeville Films Development Director na si Jenny Markchick ang kanyang copyright dahil ipinasa nito ng palihim sa Disney ang kanyang 20-year-old na screenplay. Ito anya ang naging batayan ng kwento ng dalawang pelikula ng Moana. Wala pang komento ang Disney ukol sa reklamo ni Woodall.
Narito po kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Magandang gabi po. Ako po muli si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nanggaling din sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines. The Philippines is standing firm against the illegal actions of Chinese maritime forces in its waters.
It is, in short, an intimidation tactic used by the PRC to break the spirits of our fisherfolk and discourage them from fishing in the West Philippine Sea.
A race against time in Los Angeles County's firefighters are pushing hard to contain massive wildfires before powerful winds return, threatening to undo their progress.
National Weather Service is predicting close to hurricane force level winds, and so we're making urgent preparations.
And the news starts now. The Philippines is standing firm against the illegal actions of Chinese maritime forces in its waters. The Philippines accused China of intimidating its fishermen at the disputed South China Sea shoal and normalizing an illegal presence after Beijing sent its largest Coast Guard vessel into Manila's maritime zone.
First and foremost, let me just clarify that we are not quote-unquote tolerating their presence. No? In fact, we're challenging them every single day. Right now, we have 2 Philippine Coast Guard vessels shadowing them, closely monitoring them. We have sent assets also from the armed forces and from the Philippine Coast Guard, aerial assets, to continue monitoring them. And our maritime domain awareness has been focused specifically on the illegal presence of the Chinese Coast Guard vessel. Now, as to what future steps we are to undertake, the National Maritime Council already called for the withdrawal of this monster ship from Philippine waters.
The move comes against the backdrop of rising tensions between the Philippines, a U.S. treaty ally, and Beijing during the past 2 years, stemming from their overlapping claims in the busy waterway of the South China Sea. The Philippines has protested this month against the entry of Chinese vessels in its 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone, including the 165-meter-long ship, the 5901, last spotted 77 nautical miles off the western province of Zambales. Jonathan Malaya, spokesperson for the Philippine National Security Council, reiterated the call for Beijing to withdraw from Manila's waters. The monster ship, he said, was deployed to intimidate its fishermen around Scarborough Shoal.
The NMC issued a statement yesterday asking the Chinese government to withdraw this monster ship because it is clearly an it's an illegal presence in our waters. But insofar as the objective of this presence, which is to intimidate our fishermen and intimidate us, we can clearly state that the intimidation tactics are not successful and that we remain resolved to support our Filipino fishermen, and we will not stop challenging their presence within Philippine waters.
In the same briefing, PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, said the Philippines remains unfazed with the repeated Chinese incursions.
Supported by the National Task Force West Philippine Sea is on a day-to-day challenging the presence of the China Coast Guard, because we believe that the intention of the Chinese government is to normalize the presence of the China Coast Guard in this area because of the port dash line that they have. And the Philippine Coast Guard, what we're doing there is hour by hour and day-to-day challenging the illegal presence of the Chinese Coast Guard 5901 for the international community to know that we're not going to allow China to normalize the illegal deployment of the China Coast Guard, because that's what they have been doing. They're going to normalize, change the status quo, and then operationalize and claim that they have been doing this for the past months or years. So for the Coast Guard, we are documenting this illegal presence of China Coast Guard and telling the world that the Philippine government is against this unlawful presence of the Chinese Coast Guard 5901.
President Biden's time in office wraps up in just a week, closing out much like it began, with a handoff involving Donald Trump. Now, back in 2021, Trump left the White House with no plans of returning, while Biden took the oath, promising to lead the country towards a better future. 4 years later, Biden stepping down, with many seeing his exit as a step back, while Trump prepares for a powerful comeback. Biden's departure could also signal the end of a U.S. foreign policy approach struggling to keep up with today's shifting world. He often called his moment a turning point in history, a choice between democracy and autocracy, frequently pointing to China as America's top rival, challenging the U.S.-led global order. Despite his hopes to guide the country into a new era, Biden faced global crises that kept pulling focus: Russia's war in Ukraine and the renewed violence in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas. Today, speaking at the State Department, he thanked U.S. diplomats and reflected on the complicated world he is leaving behind.
Today, I can report to the American people we're in a better strategic position in the long-term competition with China than we were when I took office. You all recall, many experts believe were predicting it was inevitable that China's economy would surpass ours. According to many predictions, that would happen by the year 2030 or shortly thereafter. But we in this room said no.
He was unable to make the case for the work that he did. He didn't tell the story of the economy. He didn't tell the story of the Western alliance. And just imagine, with the very same circumstances, a Ronald Reagan or a Bill Clinton in office at the height of their powers. They would have told that story. Would they have convinced everyone? No. But they certainly would have convinced a few more 100,000 voters, which is all you would have needed to make a difference in this election.
Before I took office, 9 NATO allies were spending 2% of their GDP on defense. Now 23 are spending 2%. And look at the Indo-Pacific. We've made partnerships stronger and created new partnerships to challenge China's aggressive behavior and to rebalance power in the region. We did it, what few thought was possible, to build the first ever trilateral partnership between the United States, Japan, and South Korea. We helped Ukrainians stop Putin. And now, nearly three years later, Putin has failed to achieve any of his strategic objectives. He has failed thus far to subjugate Ukraine, failed to break the unity of NATO, and failed to make large territorial gains.
So Joe Biden, in, I think, common terms today, would be considered a dinosaur for many. And I'm thinking particularly of Gen Xers, Gen Zs, and millennials who see what's happening in Ukraine and NATO's support of Ukraine, although it is not a NATO country, as a relic of the Cold War that they don't know, they don't understand, and they don't want the United States to be in a proxy war with Russia.
And now, look at Iran. Did you ever think we'd be where we are with Iran at this moment? after those despicable attacks by Hamas on October the 7th. Iran directly attacked Israel twice with hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones. And twice they failed because the United States organized a coalition of countries to stop them. Now, Iran's air defenses are in shambles. Their main proxy, Hezbollah, is badly wounded. When I took office, I had a choice. Ultimately, I saw no reason to keep thousands of servicemen in Afghanistan. I think I have my schedule with me, and I keep on my, I don't have, but I keep on the back of my card the actual number of dead and wounded that occurred in our longest war, to remind myself. Keep spending hundreds of millions of dollars a day. We're no longer doing that. In my view, it was time to end the war and bring our troops home, and we did.
Biden will have a mixed legacy. I think it's too difficult to just tout some of the major reforms that he was able to push through policy-wise, such as the American Rescue Plan or the Inflation Reduction Act. I think a lot of what he'll be remembered for now is his pulling out of the 2024 election rather late in the game that many people believe did not set up his predecessor to win.
South Korea's Constitutional Court adjourned the opening session of the impeachment trial of suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol within minutes today after the embattled leader did not attend court. A lawyer advising Yoon has said the president, who has been holed up in his hillside villa in Seoul for weeks, would not attend, saying a bid by authorities to detain him prevented Yoon from expressing his position at the trial.
권한을 묻기 전에 그 영장이 적법하고 유효한지에 대해서 다시 한번 생각해 보시기 바라겠습니다. 단지 헌법재판이라는 이유로 형사소송 규정을 준용하지 않는 것은 법을 정면으로 위배하는 것입니다. 법을 지키고 법을 집행해야 될 헌법재판소가 월권을 하고 있는 겁니다.
헌법의 적, 민주주의 적으로부터 헌법을 보호하고 대한민국을 지켜야 합니다. 지금 대한민국의 가장 시급한 과제는 윤석열의 체포와 파면입니다. 헌법의 적, 민주주의 적으로부터 헌법을 보호하고 대한민국을 지켜야 합니다. 지금 대한민국의 가장 시급한 과제는 윤석열의 체포와 파면입니다.
Now, the next trial session is scheduled for Thursday, January 16, and if Yoon also does not attend, the trial proceedings will go ahead with his legal team. Representing him, Acting Chief Justice Moon Young-bae said. Outside the court, one of Yoon's lawyers, Yoon Kab-kun, said the president would decide whether to go to the court in person on Thursday after discussions on his defense strategy. A race against time in Los Angeles County's firefighters are pushing hard to contain massive wildfires before powerful winds return, threatening to undo their progress. With gusts nearing hurricane strength expected, officials are warning the fire threat remains critical. At least 24 lives have been lost, entire neighborhoods leveled, and thousands forced to flee. And now nearly 10 million residents are being urged to stay ready to evacuate as the dangerous winds close in.
Firefighters raced to make as much progress as they could in containing the massive wildfires burning in Los Angeles County before the return of high winds, which LA Mayor Karen Bass said were forecast to be severe.
The National Weather Service is predicting close to hurricane force level winds, and so we're making urgent preparations.
The Palisades Fire and the Eaton Fire have claimed the lives of at least 24 people, leveled whole neighborhoods, and burned an area the size of Washington, D.C. Winds of up to 70 miles per hour were forecast for Monday through Wednesday. LA County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney.
The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
The winds threatened the hard-won progress crews have made so far. Over the weekend, firefighters beat back the Palisades fire from advancing toward the populous San Fernando Valley in the north. But officials warned the entire Los Angeles County population of nearly 10 million people to be ready to evacuate. That's in addition to the tens of thousands who have already left, with many now in shelters and flooding donation centers. Others lined up in their cars, hoping to briefly return home to grab some precious belongings.
Like as a miracle, these firemen, the air support was so swift and quick. Within 5 minutes, we've seen chopper after chopper after chopper coming in, dumping the water on. Like virtually, like it was like incredible to watch. The double propellers, the Chinooks and the other. It was 7-8 of those came in within 20 minutes, and this was all pretty much, put off. There was no single flame left. Right. And I can say only if these guys didn't do what they did today, this would not be the house here.
On Monday, Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna asked residents for their patience, especially in the Altadena area ravaged by the Eaton fire.
For the Altadena area, we are in the third day of grid searching. It is a very grim task. Please be patient with us. People are saying, I just want to go look at my house and I want to see what's left. We know that, but we have people literally looking for the remains of your neighbors.
We have no access in and out, so I have to protect my house, from looters and just help out our neighbors. We're doing, throughout the night, we're all waking up, making sure no one's that's not supposed to be here is walking around. The cops are doing the best they can, but at the end, we have to protect our own. That's all we could do and help each other out. So we're all looking out for each other.
As Los Angeles braces for extreme winds overnight, firefighters are racing against the clock to contain two massive wildfires that have already claimed dozens of lives. With hurricane-force winds expected to hit early Tuesday, crews are also working tirelessly to prevent further destruction while evacuation orders affect tens of thousands of residents.
Los Angeles firefighters on Monday braced for extreme winds overnight. Hurricane-force winds of up to 75 miles per hour were expected to hit around 4 a.m. on Tuesday, with gusts between 50 and 70 miles per hour forecast to persist through Wednesday. The two main wildfires around the city, the Palisades and Eaton fires, have killed at least 24 people and burned an area the size of Washington, D.C. since they erupted last week. On Monday, thousands of firefighters attacked the blazes from the air and on the ground ahead of the anticipated winds. The same day, Los Angeles City Fire Chief Kristen Crowley reported some progress in containing the Palisades fire.
The fire is 23,713 acres with 14% containment, 5,123 personnel that are assigned.
CAL FIRE, meanwhile, said that the Eaton fire, which firefighters can be seen battling here, was 33% contained. As of Monday, more than 92,000 people in Los Angeles County were under evacuation orders, while another 89,000 faced evacuation warnings. California Governor Gavin Newsom has said the firestorm could rank as the most devastating natural disaster in U.S. history in terms of cost. President Joe Biden has said he told local officials to, quote, spare no expense in fighting the fires, and on Monday gave more details on how Washington plans to help victims.
People impacted by these fires are going to receive one-time payment of $770, one-time payment, so they can quickly purchase things like water, baby formula, and prescriptions. So far, nearly 6,000 survivors have registered to do just that, and $5.1 million has gone out. And I encourage everyone who has been impacted to get assistance.
Separately, the LA County District Attorney's Office said 9 people had been arrested for burglarizing fire-stricken areas. They said one other person was arrested for arson, for allegedly attempting to light a tree on fire in the city of Azusa, to the northeast of the city. Finally, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power was sued on Monday. The suit claims that the department failed to properly manage water supplies critical to fighting the deadly Palisades fire. Newsom and other top Democrats in the state have been the target of escalating criticism from the right for their handling of the crisis. Top Republicans in Congress are considering imposing conditions on disaster aid, accusing the state's Democratic leadership of mismanaging water resources and forests.
A powerful 6.6 magnitude earthquake struck southwestern Japan late Monday, causing minor tsunamis, but no immediate reports of injuries or major damage. The quake hit the Yuganada Sea off Miyazaki Prefecture, shaking parts of Miyazaki, Shintomi, and Takanabe with enough force to send people holding on to table objects for support. Small tsunami waves were recorded around 20 centimeters in Miyazaki and 10 centimeters in Kochi though all tsunami advisories have now been lifted. Train services on parts of Kyushu Shinkansen were briefly suspended, but nuclear plants in the region reported no issues. There were no abnormalities reported at the Ikata nuclear power plant in western Japan or the Sendai nuclear power plant in Kagoshima Prefecture, according to NHK, referring to the two plants nearest to where the quake occurred. Japan's meteorological agency investigated the quake's potential link to a feared mega quake along the Nankai Trough, but concluded it hasn't significantly raised the risk. The Nankai Trough, last ruptured in the 1940s, has a 70 to 80% chance of triggering a magnitude 8 to 9 earthquake within the next 30 years. Negotiators will meet in Doha seeking to finalize details of a plan to end the war in Gaza. After U.S. President Joe Biden said a ceasefire and hostage release deal he has championed was on the brink of coming to fruition.
The war between Israel and Hamas, we're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. I have learned many years of public service to never, ever give up. So I spoke to Prime Minister of Israel yesterday. I spoke to Emir of Qatar today. I look forward to speaking with President Sisi soon. We're pressing hard to close this. The deal we restructured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security in Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started. They've been through hell. So many innocent people have been killed. So many communities have been destroyed. Palestinian people deserve peace and the right to determine their own future. Israel deserves peace and real security. And the hostages and their families deserve to be reunited. And so we're working urgently to close this deal.
Now, mediators gave Israel and Hamas a final draft of an agreement on Monday. An official brief on the negotiations said after a midnight breakthrough in talks attended by envoys of both the outgoing U.S. President and President-elect Donald Trump.
We especially appreciate the roles of both the Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration in the talks in the past couple of weeks. They have been involved fully in the talks. As I said, from the Biden administration and the incoming administration, they were working in tandem together here in Doha and beyond in the region to make sure that the deal happens.
And we are now at a pivotal point in the negotiations for a hostage deal and ceasefire in Gaza. The president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday and just got off the phone with the Emir of Qatar. He'll be speaking soon also with President Sisi of Egypt. We are close to a deal, and it can get done this week. I'm not making a promise or a prediction, but it is there for the taking, and we are going to work to make it happen.
If successful, the ceasefire deal would cap over a year of start and stop talks. and lead to the biggest release of Israeli hostages since the early days of the conflict, when Hamas freed about half of its prisoners in exchange for 240 Palestinian detainees held by Israel. An Israeli official said negotiations were in advanced stages for the release of up to 33 hostages as part of the deal.
We also discussed a possible hostage deal. I told the minister that progress was made. We see some progress in the negotiations. Israel wants a hostage deal. Israel is working with our American friends in order to achieve a hostage deal. And soon we will know whether the other side wants the same thing.
98 hostages remain in Gaza, according to Israeli authorities. An Israeli official outlined the proposed ceasefire deal's first stage, which would see the release of 33 hostages, including children, women, some female soldiers, men over 50, and the wounded or sick. On day 16, talks would begin on releasing the remaining hostages, including male soldiers and men of military age, along with the return of deceased hostages. The deal includes a phased Israeli troop withdrawal, with forces staying near the border to defend towns. Security measures would be enforced along Gaza's southern Philadelphia border, or Philadelphia corridor, with partial Israeli withdrawal after the initial days. Unarmed North Gaza residents could return under a mechanism to prevent weapons movement, while Israeli troops would leave the Netzarim corridor in central Gaza. Palestinian militants convicted of deadly attacks would also be released, excluding those involved in the October 7, 2023 assault, with numbers based on the hostages' status. Meanwhile, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, a hardline nationalist who has opposed previous attempts to reach a deal, denounced the latest proposals as a surrender and a catastrophe. Angry family members of Israeli hostages confronted him at a Knesset session, accusing him of abandoning their loved ones.
את מה שאמרתי לכם מקודם, זאת בגידה בחטופים. יש אלטרנטיבה, ואני אחזור לזה שוב פעם. יש אלטרנטיבה.
תודה, אני מודה לכם, תודה רבה.
לפעמים מסיבת הנובה הופקרה על ידי מדינת ישראל. הופקרה, השר סמוטריץ', כן. הילדה שלנו הופקרה ואתם תשלמו את המחיר. אלה חללים. תקים. איפה הבושה שלך? אתם רצחתם לנו את הילדה ואתה יושב ומחשב לי מחירים?
And the news continues here on Net 25. We'll be right back. And now let's head over to Las Vegas, Nevada, and find out what were the biggest hits in this year's Consumer Electronics Show. Net 25 correspondent Anna Cui shows us what caught our team's attention, from the latest in smartphone products, health tech gadgets, and electric cars, plus this year's up-and-coming smart glasses. Anna.
The biggest consumer tech show, CES 2025, is going strong here in Las Vegas, where we can see a wealth of new and cool gadgets, some big, some small, some are yet to come, but we'll also share with you some of the new things you can actually get your hands on this year. One thing attendees really enjoy here at CES is being able to try and handle these cool gadgets, like AR glasses that can connect to your devices to play games or watch movies, to glasses that can shoot photos and videos, and to bone conduction headphones that allow you to enjoy music while still being in tune to your surroundings. Robotics are always a success here at CES, like these adorable companion robots, or one that can challenge your game set of skills. I personally like the ones that can clean your windows and floors. Take a look at this prototype with an added mechanical arm for picking things up that might get in its way. And here's another robot vacuum that will soon be on the market. It has robotic legs and more.
So it's our latest technology, which has a ProLeap system, unlike any other that's out there in the market. The robot allows itself to climb over items that are about 2 inches tall. It can mop your entire home as well. So these two brushes together will allow all hair, so long hair like mine and yours, to go through and not get caught in the actual brushes. You'll see how it slowly is going through the process to then get rid of it and put it in the bin.
Gadgets to keep your house clean is one thing, but here's something to keep it safe and help protect your loved ones. Ring has partnered with Kitty to detect smoke and carbon dioxide 24/7 with real-time mobile notification. And speaking of gadgets controlled with an app, check out LV Rise for all new moms out there. It's a combo bouncer and bassinet that can be controlled using your phone. According to David Connell, who helped design the product, more importantly, it can help alleviate stress for new parents.
We know pumping and the ability to feed your baby is a huge stressor, but also so is sleep and sleep safety. Now we know from our research that both burnout is fundamentally huge. We know around 40 to 50% of babies are left asleep in products that just aren't meant to be slept in. So what we want to do is produce a bouncer product that could do a brilliant manual bounce, that can then transform seamlessly into a bassinet without moving the baby.
And finally, it's not CES without new cars. Hyundai Mobis featured its holographic windshield display technology through its built-in projectors under the dashboard. And here at CES, attendees got a glimpse of this prototype technology through Hyundai Mobis Kia EV9 with a transparent display offering a new kind of a driving experience. Honda also unveiled its 2 latest EV concepts here at CES, debuting the first 2 out of their line of pure EVs, the Honda O SUV and Honda O Saloon prototypes. Though they are still prototypes, they are slated to launch in North America in 2026. Honda is touting these vehicles will have level 3 or eyes-off self-driving capabilities. Well, this wraps up CES 2025 for us here in Las Vegas. One big takeaway is that all of these innovations are backed by artificial intelligence, making your home, your life, and your ride even smarter. In Las Vegas, Anna Cui for Net25 World News.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Good night.